Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Good afternoon. I am Robert Press, reporter for the Bronx Chronicle, Parkchester Times, and Co-op City News, as well as Parrot TV here talking politics. Since Sunday is Mother's Day, let me wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. Hopefully everything will happen. You'll have your free meal so you won't have to cook. And we'll see what happens. The weather, here's the weather report. Today it's going to be close to 90. Saturday there's a little chance of rain, and Sunday should be a clear day, about 75 degrees. So like I said, happy Mother's Day. There should be no reason why you can't go out and enjoy a day or a meal out. Let me get right into the politics because there's a lot to talk about this show. Right here in my hand is the U.S. Attorney's statement on Congressman George Santos, who is charged with fraud, money laundering, theft of public service, and false statements. Santos allegedly embezzled contributions from supporters, fraudulently obtained unemployment benefits, and lied in disclosures to the House of Representatives. A 13-count indictment was unsealed by the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District Court for the Eastern District of New York, charging George Anthony Devolder Santos, better known as George Santos, a United States Congressman representing the 3rd District of New York, with 7 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of money laundering, 1 count of theft of public services, and 2 counts of making materially false statements to the House of Representatives. The indictment was returned under a seal by a federal grand jury sitting in Central Islip, New York. Santos was arrested yesterday morning and was arraigned yesterday afternoon before U.S. Magistrate Judge Arlene R. Lindsay at the federal courthouse in Central Islip, New York. Byron Pierce, the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, and a few others from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Ms. Dooley, the District Attorney in Nassau County, announced the charges. The indictment seeks to hold Santos accountable for various alleged schemes, fraudulent schemes, and the word alleged has to be put in because he has not had his day in court yet, and brazen misrepresentation, said the U.S. Attorney Pierce. Taken together, the allegations in the indictment charge Santos with relying on repeated dishonesty and deception to ascend to the halls of Congress and enrich himself. He used political contributions to line his pockets, unlawfully applied for unemployment benefits that should have gone to New Yorkers who have lost their jobs due to the pandemic, and lied to the House of Representatives. My office, meaning the U.S. Attorney's Office, and our law enforcement partners will continue to aggressively root out corruption and self-dealing from our communities, public institutions, and hold public officials accountable to the constituents who elected them. It goes on to say about the public integrity system. They're committed to rooting out fraud and corruption, and the Justice Department also, as alleged, Santos engaged in criminal contact intended to deceive and defraud the American public, as this indictment reflects. The Department of Justice will hold accountable anyone who engages in such criminality. The FBI is committed and remains committed to holding all equally accountable under the law. As we allege, Congressman Santos committed federal crimes, and he will now be forced to face the consequences of his actions. They are talking about the diligent, eminent effort of the investigative and prosecutorial teams, according to FBI Assistant Director in Charge, Driscoll. At the height of the pandemic in 2020, George Santos allegedly applied and received unemployment benefits while he was employed and running for Congress, stated District Attorney Donnelly from Nassau County. As charged in the indictment, the defendant's alleged behavior continued during his second run for Congress when he pocketed cash and contributions, used that money to pay down personal debts and buy designer clothes. The indictment is the result of a lengthy collaboration between law enforcement agencies, and the district attorney thanks their partners in the U.S. Attorney's Office, Department of Justice, and FBI for helping to root out the public corruption. let me just stop here for a moment. It said 2020. Mr. Santos ran in 2020. He was not elected. He was elected in 2022. So it went back to 2020, the indictments. As alleged in the indictment, Santos, who was elected to Congress last November, was sworn in as a representative for New York's 3rd Congressional District on January 7, 2023, engaged in multiple fraudulent schemes. And here is some of the schemes that they allege that he participated in. Fraudulent political contribution solicitation scheme. Beginning in September 2022, during his successful campaign for Congress, Santos operated a limited liability company known as Company Number One, through which he allegedly defrauded prospective political supporters. Santos enlisted a Queens-based political consultant known as Person Number One to communicate with prospective donors on Santos' behalf. Santos allegedly directed Person One to falsely tell donors that, among other things, that money would be used to help elect Santos to the House, including by purchasing television advertisements. In reliance on these fake statements, 2 donors, Contributor 1 and Contributor 2, each transferred $25,000 to Company One's bank account, which Santos controlled. As alleged in the indictment, shortly after the funds were received in Company One's bank account, the money was transferred into Santos' personal bank accounts. In one instance, laundered through 2 of Santos' personal accounts. Santos allegedly then used much of that money for personal expenses. Among other things, Santos used the funds to make personal purchases, including designer clothing, to withdraw cash, to discharge personal debts, and transfer money to his associates. Next item, unemployment insurance fraud scheme. Beginning in approximately February 2020, Santos was employed as a regional director of a Florida-based investment firm Number One, where he earned an annual salary of approximately $120,000. By late March 20, in response to the outbreak of COVID-19 in the United States, new legislation was signed into law that provided additional federal funding to assist out-of-work Americans during the pandemic. In mid-2020, although he was employed and was not eligible for unemployment benefits, Santos applied for government assistance through the New York State Department of Labor, allegedly claiming to have been unemployed since March of 2020. From that point until April 2021, when Santos was working and receiving a salary on a near continuous basis, and during his unsuccessful run for Congress, he falsely affirmed each week that he was eligible for unemployment benefits when he was not. As a result, Santos allegedly fraudulently received more than $24,000 in unemployment benefits. Next count, false statements to the House of Representatives. Finally, the indictment describes Santos' alleged efforts to mislead the House of Representatives and the public about his financial condition in connection with each of his 2 congressional campaigns. Santos, like all candidates for the House, had a legal duty to file with the clerk on the House of Representatives a financial disclosure statement, House disclosures, before each election, in accounting of his assets, income, and liabilities, among other things. He certified that his House disclosures were true, complete, and correct. In May 2020, in connection with his first campaign for election to the House, Santos filed 2 House disclosures in which he allegedly falsely certified that during the reporting period, his only earned income consisted of salary, commission, and bonuses total $55,000 from another company, Company Number Two, and that the only compensation exceeding $5,000 he received from the single source was an unspecified commission bonus from Company Number Two. In actuality, Santos allegedly overstated the income he received from Company Two and altogether failed to disclose the salary he received from investment firm Number One. In September 2020, in connection with his second campaign for election to the House, Santos filed another House disclosure in which he allegedly overstated his income. In this House disclosure, he falsely certified that during the reporting period, he earned $750,000 in salary from the DeVolder Organized LLC, a Florida-based entity of which Santos was the sole beneficial owner. He had received between $1 million and $5 million in dividends from that organization, the LLC. He had a checking account with deposits between $100,000 and $100,000 and $250,000. He had savings account with deposits between $1 million and $1 and $5 million. As alleged in the indictment, these accusations were false. Santos has not received from the LLC the reported amounts of salary or dividends and did not maintain checking and savings accounts with deposits in the reported amounts. Further, Santos allegedly failed to disclose that in 2021 he received approximately $28,000 in income from investment firm number one, more than $20,000 in unemployment insurance benefits from the New York State Department of Labor. The charges in the indictment are merely accusations, and the defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty. If convicted of the charges, Santos faces a maximum penalty of 20 years of prison on the top counts. A federal district court judge will determine any sentence after considering U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. The FBI is investigating the case with assistance from the Nassau County District Attorney's Office, the IRS Criminal Investigation, and the U.S. Department of Labor, Department of Inspector General. Now, that is not George Santos's only problem, because he has other problems, as Brazil prosecutors agreed to solve a criminal charge that involved a pair of shoes, a stolen checkbook, with Santos accepting responsibility for his action and agreeing to pay about $4,850. He was unable to travel to Brazil since his passport has been taken away from him, and he is not allowed to leave New York or Washington, or the Washington, D.C. area. Now that was a big mouthful. We're coming up to our commercial, so I'm just going to quickly mention a little about Title 42, which ended midnight last night. That means that immigrants coming across the border no longer have to have vaccinations. They can come in, and it appears that people also, when they come in at the airport, don't have to show proof of vaccination anymore. What is happening down at the southern border is that barbed wire is being set up to help stem the tide of all these immigrants coming in. And it's hoped that the U.S. troops down there will help with the border seekers. That the expected thousands of asylum seekers are coming in as of today. Later on, I'll go into, if I can, what Mayor Adams is doing. But let's first go to our commercial right now so I can catch my breath.
Do you wish your business makes it to the top list of the most searched for business in the US and around the world? Or are you searching for halal compliant services and products online? Then Halal Finder is your online resource directory, pointing you to the right places and products. Let's help you explore halal products and services of your choice as we manage many halal businesses across the world. Promote your business with halalfinder.com, the only plug you need to grow. Our services include business listing, digital marketing, branding strategy, SEO campaigns, crowdfunding, and humanitarian support. On our Compassion Corner, we offer crowdfunding of halal ventures and humanitarian services. In this section, you can make or receive donations, start donation campaign, and check existing donation campaigns. And by paying zakat and sadaqah to our Compassion platform on halalfinder.com, you have supported the poor, widows or widowers, orphans, and the likes around the world. Contact us at info@halalfinder.com or call +1 718 822 5555. Get started today at halalfinder.com.
Welcome back to the show. Before I get into Donald Trump's problems, Ed Cox, the New York State Republican Party chair, has made a statement about George Santos. The statement says, "The writing has been on the wall for months. George Santos will not be a member of the next Congress. Santos' indictment was timed perfectly by Joe Biden's Department of Justice to distract from the release of Congressman James Comer's revelations that the Biden family pocketed over $10 million from corrupt foreign nationals while Joe Biden was vice president. The story of George Santos over the story of the unraveling of the Biden family's influence peddling scheme is just the beginning." That was from Ed Cox, the chair of the New York State Republican Party. Now, as far as Donald Trump, he was not convicted of rape, but he was convicted. The jury convicted him of liable for sexually abusing the Miss E. Jean Carroll in the mid-90s in a department store dressing room, and also defaming her for his Truth Social platform, awarding Miss Carroll $5 million in damages. Now, it's Donald Trump was on one of the networks, national networks, and his lawyer said that Miss Carroll's lawyer said that the former president's mocking comments in a town hall broadcast could create fresh legal problems for Donald Trump. He called her a whack job and said the trial was a rigged deal. And former President Trump is now appealing the decision. Speaking of appeals, former governor aide Andrew Cuomo aide Joe Persico, who was found guilty of influence peddling, had his 2018 bribery conviction overturned in the Buffalo Billions big rigging scheme. A jury found Persico guilty of accepting over $300,000 in bribes related to a Buffalo area economic development plan from then Governor Andrew Cuomo, known as the Buffalo Building. It was found by the jury that in return for payments, Persico steered state business to two companies in the state. A judge sentenced Persico to 6 years in prison, which Persico served only 3 years before getting released in 2021 by the Supreme Court. Next item on the calendar, congestion pricing. Congestion pricing will be coming to New York City in probably 1 year. Governor Hochul said that the U.S. Department of Federal Highway Administration in a draft has found no significant impact to New York City, and that New Yorkers will have cleaner air, better public transit, less traffic on our streets. The program is critical to New York City's long-term success, ensuring our communities and businesses are able to grow and thrive. Mayor Adams said the federal government has given congestion pricing another green light, and we're ready to get it done. This is more than reducing traffic. We'll invest into our transit system and clean up the air in the most polluted communities. Building a stronger future, meaning ensuring progress, includes everyone, and we don't push consequences into overlooked communities. This plan will serve all New Yorkers and won't leave anyone behind. And Mayor Adams said he wanted to thank U.S. Transportation Secretary Buttigieg and Governor Hochul, Congressman Richie Torres, and the advocates who kept their foot on the gas pedal. Now, part of the plan includes a different pricing structure for low-income drivers. There would be a 25% discount for low-income frequent drivers on the full Easy Pass toll rate for the first 10 trips in each calendar month. Taxis and for-hire vehicles may not be tolled more than once a day. There's more here. Additional benefits include across the 28 county areas studied in the environmental review. The assessment finds that those who commute to work in Manhattan's central business district, only 11% drive, 85% use public transportation. By reducing congestion and creating revenue for public transportation, the program will benefit millions of people every day. Through the new package mitigation, the programs will also significantly invest in air quality and environmental justice communities. The fare for the congestion pricing will be anywhere from $5 to $20, it was said. Now, next item. As I mentioned last week, the Jordan Neely death, the 24-year-old Marine, Daniel Penny, has been charged with manslaughter in the second degree. He is seen on a video putting Jordan Neely in a chokehold on the floor of an F train in Manhattan 10 days ago, resulting in his death. He will be arraigned on charges of second-degree murder, and he probably has already turned himself in this morning at a lower Manhattan precinct. The district attorney's office said they cannot provide any more information, and this was done in consultation with the DA's office and the NYPD. Penny's attorneys have also not commented on the imminent charges. They have previously said the client was protecting himself and others, and there was no way Penny could have foreseen his bid to subdue the supposed perceived threat that would turn deadly. His attorney said he never intended to harm Neely. However, Neely's family said that in a statement amounts to a confession and have been calling for criminal charges. Next item, immigrants coming up across the border. Mayor Eric Adams has suspended the right to shelter law as New York City prepares for more immigrants to come into New York City now. He has put in Executive Order 402, which says, whereas over the past several months, thousands of asylum seekers have been arriving in New York City from the southern border without having any imminent plans for shelter. And whereas the city now faces an unprecedented humanitarian crisis that requires it to take extraordinary measures to meet the immediate needs of asylum seekers while continuing to serve tens of thousands of people who are currently using the DHS, Department of Homeland Service, shelter system. And whereas additional reasons for requiring the measure continue in this order are set forth in emergency executive order number 224, dated October 7th of 2022, and whereas a state of emergency based on the arrival of thousands of individuals and families seeking asylum, first declared in emergency executive order number 224, dated October 7th, 22, and extended most recently by executive order 398, dated May 5th, 2023, remains in effect now. Therefore, pursuant to powers vested in me by the laws of the state of New York, city of New York, and not limited to the New York Executive Law, the New York City Charter, and Administrative Code of New York City, the common law authority to protect the public in the event of emergency. Section 1, I hereby order that Section 2 of the Emergency Executive Order of number 398, dated May 5th, is extended for 5 days. Number 2, I hereby suspend the following sections of the Administrative Code. Code number 21-124 and code numbers 121-313 to the extent it sets a deadline for the city's temporary shelter placements. And also section 26-521 to the extent such provisions give rights to individuals in need of shelter or housing because of the circumstances that led up to the state of emergency and who have been occupants of dwelling units for 30 days or more, creates a landlord-tenant relationship between any individual assisting with the response to the state of emergency or any individual in need of a shelter or housing because of circumstances that led up to the state of emergency. Any entity, individual or entity, including but not limited to any hotel owner, hospital, non-for-profit housing provider, or other person or entity who provides temporary housing for a period of 30 days or more for solely purpose of assisting in the response to the state of emergency. Section 3, this emergency order shall take effect immediately and shall remain in place for 5 days unless it is terminated or modified at an early date, whichever occurs first. Signed by Mayor Eric Adams. Now, what's happened is not only have they been coming over the border, but they have gone, the governor of Texas has bused migrants up to New York. And what has happened yesterday was there were 2 buses of migrants that were sent from New York City that arrived in the town of Newburgh, Orange County, shortly after 10 a.m. amid a clash between the Hudson Valley government officials and New York City Mayor Eric Adams. There were about 60 people on the buses as they arrived at the Crossroads Hotel. Adams' plan, released last week, seeks to pay migrants to shelter them in the Hudson Valley temporarily, with the city footing the bill. The push to transport some migrants upstate comes as the city faces a housing crunch. More than 61,000 asylum seekers have been bused to New York City from the southern border since last spring, according to the mayor's office. As of May 6, more than 37,500 asylum seekers currently are in the city's care. Now, Orange County Executive Steve News came out against the plan to send migrants and issued a emergency order that sought to prevent hotels and motels from sheltering the migrants. In a statement Thursday, he said, last night, both state and city assured the town of Newburgh and Orange County that no buses with asylum seekers would be here until further notice. The process has been a disorganized disaster, and the blame lies with the mayor of New York, who originally opened the door for as many undocumented immigrants as possible to his self-proclaimed sanctuary city. And the governor, she has sat back and done nothing as this crisis has negatively impacted New York State. The New York State Police, Orange County Sheriff's Office, and the supervisor of the town of Newburgh and his police department were not notified that these buses would be arriving. Sadly, we have learned that you cannot trust the word of New York City's mayor and the leadership of New York. Town of Newburgh Supervisor Gil Piacqua said earlier this week that the town doesn't allow hotels and motels to serve as shelters, and local town codes would be enforced. The passengers on the bus appeared to be adult males with little belongings. There are 340 more immigrants that the mayor wanted to bus to the Armani Inn and Suites in Rockland County in Orangeburg, and New York City would foot the bill for the shelter, food, and resources. But apparently that second horde of asylum seekers have not been sent up to Rockland County. As we are closing near to the end of the show, let me read that today the New York City Council voted or passed the new 9-story building mixed-use development at 33, including 33 affordable housing units at 2560 Boston Road. And let me read from Councilwoman Marjorie Velazquez's weekly notice that came to me about right before the show. And it says, this week, the New York City Council voted in favor of the 2560 Boston Road project rezoning. As New York City continues to navigate the housing crisis, we must identify opportunities that meet the needs of our communities, especially in the Bronx. One of the top concerns regarding housing surrounds the affordability of units and their compatibility with the average median income, AMI. The project at Boston Road is no different, and I'm happy to share the applicant team is committed to pursuing a 100% affordable HPD, Department of Housing Preservation and Development, term sheet. This means incomes are capped at 90% of AMI, with most units targeted below the max threshold. By utilizing HPD's mix and match program, families with incomes of all ranges can reside in this new complex. To be clear, most of the units are below the 90% of the AMI, including 20% for households earning between $37,000 and $53,000, which is 40% of AMI. 25% of households earning between $47,000 and $67,000, and 40% of households earning between $82,000 to $120,000. That means the average public school teacher in New York who earns $66,193, which the salaries range between $55,000 and $80,000, and healthcare workers who earn an average of $69,000 or up to $76,000, and other occupations reflective of our community will be able to afford these new units. Since I am running out of time, I will just say that Bronx Week is going on right now, and there are events. You can go to ilovethebronx.com, or you can check my blog for the link to that. And yesterday was the Veterans Appreciation Luncheon, which was held at Maestro's. 250 veterans enjoyed a lunch during Bronx Week. Today is the centenarian event, which I couldn't attend. And the highlight of Bronx Week, though, is Sunday, the 21st, where there is a Bronx Week parade down the Grand Concourse from 167th Street through 158th Street. The Bronx Week Food and Arts Festival, which will be between 164th Street and Lou Gehrig Plaza at 161st Street, and the Bronx Week Grand Finale Concert at Joyce Kilmer Park, 161st Street and Grand Concourse. The parade starts at 10 a.m., the food festival 12 to 5 p.m., the concert 12 to 6 p.m. There are several artists, and my final thing for today is who is on the ballot and who is not. In Bronx races in the Democratic Party, the district attorney, Tess Cohn, will appear as number 1. Darcel Clark will appear as number 2. The 12th city council race, Andy King has been ruled off the ballot by a state appeals court decision. He can appeal it to the Supreme Court, but he is not expected to do it. Unfortunately, Mr. King will have to wait 2 years and be able to run in 2025. So in the 12th council race, in the first position will be Kevin Riley. Second will be Pamela Hamilton Johnson. Third will be Aisha Hernandez Ahmed. In the 13th council district, number 1 will be Marjorie Velazquez. Number 2, Irene Estrada. Number 3, Bernadette Ferrara. 4, John Perez. That is positioning on the ballot only. You get to mark where you want your number 1, your number 2, or whatever. In the 14th council district, the top will be Rachel Bradshaw, then Karina Sanchez. That is it for the Democrats in the Bronx, surprisingly. In the Republican Party, the 13th city council will have Christy Marumato at the top of the ballot, George Haverack under her, and then Hasmi Samantha Circa as the third candidate. The Conservative Party will have a little different order, as George Havernack will be on top, Hasmi Samantha Zerka will be in the second position, and Christy Marumato will be in the bottom position. I will have more on the election, more on Bronx Week next week as we head into the finale. And I just want to thank you for watching, and we wish you a happy Mother's Day and a good weekend. Thank you.
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing.